Hello, welcome to another video on speculation. Star Wars is perhaps one of the most unique co- comic books that was adapted from the movies. When you're looking at other comic books from Blade Runner to Code to Indiana Jones, many of those comic books that was adapted from the movies, especially like say Indiana Jones, where you have multiple movies and sequel, the popularity and demand for those books are really non-existent compared to Star Wars. Star Wars, the pop culture phenomenon with Star Wars is by itself an animal that cannot be controlled. It's in many ways, it's a good thing. I can go into the history of how important Star Wars was for Marvel to save the company back in the late 70s. That was a big coup for Marvel to be able to get the right to adapt the movies. But over the years, the popularity of Star Wars comic books has always been head and shoulder above the rest of the movie adaptations. Okay, and outside of Star Wars one, the most sought after Star Wars comic books, the other one is the first appearances of Boba Fett. And if you check on eBay, you will see that the next hot book as far as Star Wars comic books is, of course, Star Wars 42, the first comic appearances of Boba Fett. And this is where, it's always with key books or hot books, I try not to understand why the market puts so much value in one thing and not the other. Whether it's a cameo, first appearance, first full appearance, all that stuff, I have no idea. As I mentioned many times in the past videos, there are so much inconsistencies in this area that the only constant is that there is no consistency. Okay, so whenever I hear people trying to justify why certain books is worth more than the other, I got a good chuckle, because there is no rhyme or reason or logic. I had said this before too, that when it comes down to comic book collecting, logic has left this hobby a long time ago. Anyhow, if you go to on eBay, no doubt you will see that this book is fairly hot. At least the last, I think a near mint copy or near mint copy used to be, I'm guessing, I don't have GP analysis, but if I had to guess, say 2 or 3 years ago, before Marvel and Disney bought the Star Wars franchise, a near mint 9.4 copy may go for $100, maybe, I'm guessing. And then it climbed to 150, and then it climbed to, I think a near mint copy now go for 200, and a 9.8 go for 5, 6, 700. I bet you 2 years ago a 9.8 copy of this book is probably 200, if I had to guess, maybe 250. So this book, okay, is the movie adaptation of The Empire Strikes Back. Now it's issue 42, but the start of the adaptation is issue 39. Okay, so this is the third in line, and then I believe the Empire Strikes Back, the movie, ended in issue 43. So this actually came out in September. Okay, issue 39, the start of the movie adaptation, came out in June. Okay, so keep that in mind, in June. Now, back about 5, 6 years ago, I was in if you ask me 5 years ago what was the one run that I wanted to complete the most, would have been the Marvel Treasury. I was going crazy trying to complete my run, a high grade run of Marvel Treasury. For whatever reason, I fell in love with the big format and I love it. So there was one book, one of the few books that was missing was my Empire Strike Back books, that Treasury. So on one of those nights, I bid on a book that I thought, I didn't pay much attention. I saw the listing and I bought it. And when it arrived, it was not the Treasury that I thought it was. It was just a magazine, and I didn't pay attention to the listing enough. I know it was not the comic books, but when the book arrived, it was this thing. The Marvel Super Special Issue 16. Okay? So I was somewhat disappointed. It's really nice, high grade, okay? It's really nice. It's beautiful book with very little flaw. But it was not what I was looking for, so I kind of put it in the box. Like I have a magazine box and I put it in and I forget about it, and I really didn't pay much attention to it. And then shortly after that, I did go on eBay and bought this. Okay, so this is a Treasury. The books are exactly the same. Okay, so you go to see the size differential. This is a typical magazine like Savage, Sword of Conan, Savage Tales. But so here you have, and both of these, for those that are not aware of the timeline, both of these came out in June. Okay, they both have the thing called spring of 1980, so they came out in June. The same time, I believe, issue 39, the first part of the Empire Strike Back came out. So if you care about, what came out first and all that stuff, there's not debate, okay, but there's some people that may not know that what came out first, and CGC put on a label of the slab that this is the first appearance of Boba Fett in comic books. Once again, if you're talking for people that trying to collect the first appearances of Rocket Raccoons, or there's a few characters that appear in magazine or other place before the comic books, and the market have a tough time trying to be consistent with what should be more valuable. But so here, I believe both the Treasury and the magazine came out in June about the same time. So it is what it is, okay? I don't believe the market put much value in either one of these, okay? Sure, they worth more than they used to with the movie hype and potential launch of a Boba Fett movie, but it's not considered highly priced as Star Wars 42. Now, before I go, let me introduce this little book. I bet many people has not seen it, okay? This little book came out May of 1980, so this precede everything else that you saw. Back in those days, for Al Williamsons and the writers to be able to adapt the movie, they must have seen a rough cut of that movie 3-4 months, okay, before the release, in order to adapt for this book, this little novel, they call it. The Marvel comic version. What's neat about this, for those that don't know, it came out in May, so it precedes the other 3 books. And back when the original story was drawn, Yoda was a secret, a kept secret, where Lucas did not want to reveal what he looked like. So when this book was drawn, Yoda was not known, so Al Williamson had to kind of guess what he looked like based on what he was told. Okay, so in here is it's a pretty cool thing, you know, for those that want to do me to do a video to show the close-up of page by page, because there's a lot of panel mixing up, alteration in order for this thing to fit into this thing. Okay, and then the color scheme is very different too. Back in those old days, you know, before the digital age, you had to recolor everything. So okay, so here's the first time that Yoda show up in the book. Okay, and that was not changed. That stay in the comic books, but on the next page, it's hard to tell Yoda, okay? It's hard to tell the face of Yoda there, but let me go to the next page. Voila. See that? That's the Yoda that was drawn in this novel. So this was the original version, the earliest version that was put out by Marvel. Okay, so that's pretty neat that how Yoda didn't have the same look. And what happened was, so a month later, as the movie was getting ready to release and Lucas was finally showing the artist what Yoda is supposed to look like, Al Williamson did hurry up and revise the look of Yoda. Okay, so here is the first panel as I shown before. You see the back of Yoda. Okay, there you go. There you go. Yoda as you have it with the movie. So as you can see, if you are a purist as far as what was the very first time Boba Fett was introduced, this is not a comic book, it's a novel. So there you go. I present you one of the bizarre occurrences of a character where the market seemed to have a lot of explaining to do. You know, I had no idea. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't matter to me one bit what the market think, because I have all four. I have all four appearances of the character. But that's it for this video. I would love to hear people. I think a lot of people, I would be surprised if a lot of people that watch this video are not aware of the 3 or 4 different versions of the first appearances. So, but technically, all of them was drawn the same time. Okay, Al Williamson drew the entire Empire Strike Back. It just happened that this book came out 3 months later because it was a monthly book and they couldn't publish issue 39, 40, 41, 42 together. So technically everything was drawn together except that this was the earliest version because it has the wrong looking Yoda before they revised it a month later. Okay, and that's it. That's all I have for this video. Thanks for watching.